Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Ecoffee with Experts. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. And on today's show, I have with me Kraig Bond. Now, Kraig's going to be talking about how to build a six-figure SEO agency in 12 months, even if you are an introvert. He has an absolutely amazing story. He's the CEO and owner of Elite Results Marketing, a full-service digital marketing and web development agency headquartered in the Bentonville, Arkansas area. He has over 10 years of combined experience in e-commerce, social media marketing, SEO, and business and project management. Kraig is an expert in his field when it comes to SEO, and with his background in technology, he has worked closely with many different industries and has been able to help dozens of companies achieve their marketing goals. Kraig, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Yeah. So you've had an interesting journey so far. Who was Kraig as a school kid?
Who was Kraig as a school kid? See, I actually love that you included that as a question because I was the oddest duck you've probably ever met.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest.
Okay.
Now, Kraig as a school kid didn't fit in super well. Part of the reason for that was I moved around a lot. My dad was a home builder, so we moved quite frequently. So I probably changed schools like 8 or 9 times through school.
Wow.
So as a grade schooler, I swapped elementary several times, and I don't know how it is in most other areas, but in our area, there's pretty tight-knit communities. So
yeah,
I wasn't here at the beginning. They're like, who's this guy? And if you don't kind of assert yourself as a certain kind of person, you're just kind of the odd duck. But I think that actually worked to my advantage later in life, to be honest. Because we did move so frequently, and I had the opportunity to homeschool through junior high.
Okay.
So when I was reintroduced in high school, I had come to the realization that, hey, they don't know who I am. They don't know who I was. They don't know that I was the odd duck out. I can be whoever I want.
There you go. Wow.
So I leveraged it to my advantage whenever I transitioned high schools and went from nobody at my previous high school to everybody knows Kraig. Kraig's friends with everybody. Ironic. So you've mentioned, before we started this, that you have experience talking to other SEOs, and you're probably familiar with somebody like Matt Versteeg, or what is his name? I can't remember the other guy's name, but I've noticed a trend that there's a grouping of SEOs that did magic. Are you aware of this phenomenon?
No. Tell me about it.
Okay. So I have noticed that a fair number of SEOs, at least at one point in their life, maybe like I did in high school, did magic tricks or illusions.
Oh.
What is that other guy's name? You're familiar with Ty Lopez, right?
Nope. Sorry.
Okay. I'm a little floored by that. But so one of the people in his course forever ago, whenever I went through that thing, that guy was teaching SEO, and he was also a magician, like a full on, had a career as a stage magician. And I think amazing. Matthew Versteeg did as well.
What was his name again? Sorry, I'm gonna look it up. Ty Lopez.
Yeah, Ty Lopez wasn't, but he had a guy. Man, I can't remember the guy's name. Okay. I'll have to go look it up after this. It's going to bother me. But one of the guys that taught in his course, the SEO component to his course, was actually a full-time stage magician before he did this. And again, I think Matthew Versteeg was as well. And it's kind of ironic because back to the school days, that's how I reinvented myself, as I was really big into illusions and magic. And if you ask any one of my peers from high school, they'll say Kraig absolutely probably went on to Vegas to become the next Chris Angel or David Blaine.
Wow.
And this ties back to the, I'm an introvert, and I leveraged that. I created this alter ego for myself where I can step into this very assertive role where I'm confident and do presentations and whatever. And then I step back into I stay home and read books role as well.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was an odd duck.
Yeah.
And then,
I was as well. to be frank with you. I won't get into me though, but I was an odd duck as well.
Well, in retrospect, I realized probably everybody to a degree probably feels like that or had.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their thing, right? It is.
Yeah. I don't think you really become who you are until you get comfortable with your own skin until you're well past your 20s, like in my opinion. I mean, I'm 46 and I'm still figuring things out. So,
Right.
So what inspired you to start your own digital marketing agency? How did that come about?
So that relays back to Tai Lopez.
Okay.
So to rewind here for a second, after I left high school, I spent, I think it was a full year and a half digging ditches, doing landscaping. Weird turn of events. I had promised a friend of mine we were going to be roommates. We were going to move down to Bentonville because that's where the jobs were. He got a job first. I couldn't find one. Ended up working landscaping for a while. There's a whole backstory to that where I probably applied to like 500 jobs over that year. Didn't get a single one of them. Got a random phone call from Walmart's home office out of the blue while I was on a job site. Said, "Hey, you want to come in and interview?" I was like, "Okay, absolutely." I have no idea where you got my information, but I'm all in. I showed up at their headquarters. So they've got this big data center here. And so they call it the David Glass Center. It's a big data center. Okay. I show up and I'm like, okay, this is really cool. And I walk in the door, meet the lady. This is like middle of the night because I'm interviewing for a night shift position. And that was rough. Don't do that if you can avoid it. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, I walked in, she started showing me around and I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm getting this job. I've interviewed for like so many other jobs. There's no way I'm getting this job. So I just turned on the questions. I'm like, I'm going to make the most of my time here. I'm going to ask questions. Yeah. And that translated to her really loving my interview and hiring me. So that kickstarted a career with Walmart. I worked there for 10 years. When I left, I was a senior systems programmer on the mainframe side. Oh, wow. And through that process, I moved very quickly. Probably the first or second day I was on the job there, I walked into my manager's office and I said, "Hey, I just want to introduce myself. How soon can I get a raise?" And he just laughed. And I was like, "No, I'm serious." And he goes, "Well, you're eligible after 6 months, but it's probably 1 to 2 years before you get your first raise." I said, "Okay, I'll see you in 6 months." Pretty much every 6 months after that, I was hitting pay markers and moving up. I like learning. Actually, to be frank, this was when I started, it was a basic data entry. I didn't know how to type. Back to the high school thing, I transitioned high schools. Okay. They were about to start typing in the next semester when I left one school, and they had just completed it when I got to the other one. So I didn't know how to type. So So I had to go self-learn typing real fast to keep up. And and how long ago was this? This was how many years ago? This is over a decade now because I was there for 10 years and I've been doing so 13, 14, 15 years ago. 15 years ago, it sounds like. Wow. Yeah. Is that even possible? Oh my God. Yeah. I'm just realizing how old I am. Yeah. Well, in high school, I had to learn how to type on an actual physical typewriter when I was in grade 10. So at least now you can go on the internet and there's typing websites that you can learn to type. But that must have been interesting, learning how to type. It was. I was the fastest hunt and pecker you could think of. And this ends up being translated into when I have conversations with my team now about sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. I got so slow and was struggling so hard while I was learning, but now, like, obviously I can type like a wizard. Yeah. And where was I going with that? So you're talking about how you were advancing. I was progressing through Walmart, and I ended up shifting divisions several times. I made friends with some managers in the mainframe side and shifted there because I was seeing kind of a ceiling with the networking side that I was in. So I went to mainframe, and then I made friends with the director of mainframe. And he ended up pushing me into a position for CICS, which is just virtualized server systems on the mainframe. Okay. And anyway, to round that out, I started seeing a ceiling again and realizing that only progression I have from here, if I move out of a technical role, is management. And Walmart's such a big company, and when pay cuts come, it's that first level of management that's usually dropped. And I was like, I'm either going to stay here or I'm going to move into that kind of danger realm, and I don't necessarily want to do that. And around that time frame, if you put me on the spot, I can't tell you how many years ago it's been now, but
it's okay.
We were expecting to have a baby, and my wife, she's wholeheartedly a mother at heart. That's all she's wanted to do her whole life.
Yeah.
She'd probably kill me for saying it like that. But like when I met her, I was like, this lady wants to be a mom. Yeah. And so she wanted to stay home. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to figure out how to make up that income.
Yeah.
And I can't really progress further here unless I want to go into that managerial position I didn't want to do. So I got retargeted with one of Tai Lopez's ads, ended up buying his social media marketing course, which was $997. That was like a super big decision me and my wife made. She's like, if you think you can do it, like go for it.
Yeah.
So I got the course, went through it all in like a week, and then went, oh boy, I'm in trouble. And I was in trouble because he's teaching like go knock on doors and talk to business owners. And I'm like, that's not me.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so that kind of kickstarted it. We ended up doing a whole gambit of things. I tried to knock on a few doors. The conversations were really bad, like really bad. I'm like, hi, I'm Kraig. Would you like me to do your social media? Also found out really quick that I didn't want anything to do with the social media side. Yeah. I was like, I don't have a passion for it. I'm not enjoying it. So we ended up jumping into some like Amazon FBA stuff. I white labeled a supplement because I'm into fitness, although you can't tell.
Oh, cool.
Kind of gained some weight here lately with this knee injury. But so we did Amazon FBA. I ended up getting banned over a typo in my description for the supplement. And so I transitioned again, and we were trying like some drop shipping stuff, which led me to trying to start a baby boutique because we had Amelia at that time.
Okay.
And when I started the baby boutique, I was like, how do I get traffic? And that's kind of what kickstarted the whole learning SEO, progressed. So bought some more courses, of course. Right? I probably bought some of the worst ones that you could find, ended up on some internet forums. Do ahead.
Yeah. Oh, me too. You know,
there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was doing some probably really spammy stuff, but I was asking questions. It was my site. I wasn't damaging anybody else's stuff. And this guy reached out. I got into like an argument with him. He's like, dude, what you're doing is absolutely spammy. You need to stop. Just like go away, shoot. And like it made me mad. And I was like, what are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. And he ended up making friends with me. It's weird how that reoccurs in my life. I ended up making the best of friends with people that I get into an argument the first time we meet. I don't know why that is. But anyway, he decided, hey, I'll mentor you. He owns a company out of Colorado doing SEO for like big industrial metal suppliers and stuff. It's B2B. Yeah. And he had just kind of produced a local SEO course that he was using kind of as a lead gen agent for him. And he said, here, go through the course, and then I'm going to mentor you, and I'll help you get your first client. I was like,
and he was doing this all for free?
No, I absolutely paid him, and I paid him in some sweat equity too.
Okay.
Usually that doesn't work well. Like,
no.
Hot tip for anybody watching, if you're newer or whatever, definitely try to pay for the person's time. They're busy, they're doing things, pay for the time. Anyway, he taught me some great stuff. I went and landed my first client, and then I was like, wife, I think we could do this like full time. So we started pursuing it, and that's kind of how we got here. That was 6 years ago now.
So given that you have, shared you're an introvert and the knocking on doors thing was difficult. It's interesting. People tell me that I'm an extrovert, but like, sure, I can go and talk to people easily, but I wasn't always that way. Like when I first started working in the restaurant industry back in, 1998, I was so petrified to go up to my first table. It was mind-boggling. It was actually hilarious when you think back about it. And now, like you, I can go on a bus and talk to someone and find out tons of stuff about them just by talking to them. They not know anything about me, like the whole, whatever that guy is name. You mentioned his name earlier. And yet it wasn't always that way. I had to develop that as a person. I was shy, and I do like prefer to like be at home reading books and learning, and even selling cars as I worked in that industry. And it was a means for me to learn how to sell. I had to learn how to be more assertive and be less nervous, because if you're nervous selling something, it instantly is going to kill the sale.
They smell it on you.
They smell it on you. Even if, they do. And so you have to be confident. So my question to you is, how did you, all of a sudden you're this guy who's shy guy, not insulting, but everybody has different personality types. What was your means instead of going and knocking on doors? Because number one, you didn't want to sell social media marketing because there's services or whatever. And right, I understand why. I don't like to either. And I don't think
no hate on anybody that does. But
yeah, we won't even get into it. Well, why? Because anyway, it's a whole thing in and of itself. But how did you transition to getting clients? Like, what did you do?
So number one, I spent a lot of money. Number two, I'm fairly confident in failure.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, just as a person, I'm comfortable knowing that I can fail.
That's awesome.
I think so. I like to tell people that my only God-given talent is that I can learn anything.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I was not good at name it. I'm not good at it naturally. Yeah. And so I've acquired a taste for, I know that the best way to get good at anything is to put the work in. The second best way is to shortcut yourself and go find somebody that's good at it.
Yeah.
So
that's,
I think I mentioned before we started this, like I've probably spent a couple $100,000 on sales training throughout the course of my career here. And that's over a fairly long period of time, but like the big ones,
that's a significant amount of money.
It was important. I knew that was what the barrier was between me and being able to run an agency successfully. I have to overcome this. Now, I don't know if I've ever shared this publicly or not. I've told friends and family about it, but one of the other things that I did, which is sort of off the wall, and I'm not saying that everybody should go do it, but there was definitely a problem for me. I noticed that when I would get on a phone call to try to sell, and it had anything to do with business, I would instantaneously lose my ability to speak. Like couldn't breathe, couldn't get the words to come out of my mouth. And I was like, there's something wickedly wrong here. Because if I got on a phone with somebody I don't know, and I told you I did the magic thing back in high school or whatever, I could step into that role and have a conversation. I didn't have a problem with that. It was only around business and sales. I just shut down. Absolutely shut down. So I was in a B&I group at the time.
Oh yeah.
And those are great. Those are a great way to get started. But I came across a hypnotherapist and I talked to her about the problem. She goes, why don't you come in and see me for a couple sessions? So I did, and found that I actually had a mental hang-up to do with business. And it all stemmed back in, I hope if my dad watches this, he doesn't get pissed, but like he used to tell me as a child, children are to be seen and not heard. And he didn't mean anything by it, but children are so impressionable. And when do you learn that you grow up? Like when do you decide, okay, I'm an adult now? Right? In my head, I'm still a kid.
Same here.
And so I had this hang up that I'm not allowed to talk whenever it's grown-up stuff. Well, business is grown-up stuff. So I would get on the phone and hang up.
Oh, wow.
And so she put me through a couple of sessions. We got down to what the root of the problem was. We worked on it.
Yeah.
And then it just almost overnight went away. And I was like, oh my God, I can suddenly talk on the phone. Now,
wow.
that doesn't fix the other component where I don't naturally want to go do that, or the fact that because I knew I was at a disadvantage and I was spending all this money on trainings and courses, and they focus on like, here's how you say this, and here's the right words to say. And
like word tracks.
I got super hung up on that. Super hung up on that. And that hung me up. And then ironically, someone that I didn't pay a dime for this information, who's wickedly good at sales, and ironically used to work for and live with Jordan Belfort, gave me one statement that kind of just wait a minute,
George, wait. We have pause. Okay. Jordan, you lived with Jordan Belfort?
Not me. Oh, my friend Dakota did.
Your friend Dakota lived and worked for Jordan Belfort.
Yeah.
And was kind of mentored by him, and then shared some tips with you.
I think he was good at sales before he met Jordan, honestly. I think he sold Jordan, which is why, but I'm sure he learned a ton from the guy. I'm sure he learned, love him or hate him, like Jordan is wicked good at sales. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, he was another one of those ones that I got into a fight with the first time I met him. I was in a bad mood. Yeah. He owns an agency that do funnels, and one of his sales guys like kind of twisted my arm to get on a call with him. And I was just like over it. I'm like, I'm not spending any money on a sales funnel, and just like laid into him. And we got into it. He's like, well, why am I on this call then? And like bit back. And that's how our friendship started. But anyway, he really kind of pulled me back from that idea that I need to worry about word tracks and I need to say things a certain way or whatever. And the one thing that kind of just like opened the door for me was a statement that I'm pretty sure came out of a movie. I can't remember what the movie's name is. And it's, you are selling certainty in an uncertain world. And then it just kind of clicked with me. I was like, people just want to be confident. And I know I'm wicked good at SEO.
There you go.
I know my team is wicked good at SEO.
Yeah, there you go.
I just need to express that.
Yeah.
And so I stopped worrying about the words and just started focusing on the confidence of who we are and what we are.
Yeah.
So I kind of round out the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you suffer with the imposter syndrome a little bit, would you say?
Very much so, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like when you don't have, I don't know how many companies we work with. When you don't have case studies and you don't have, a great number of people that you've worked with, like the first one was fairly easy because I got a referral from a friend that I homeschooled with.
Okay.
She kind of hooked me up. So I did that one. We did a really good job with it. In fact, he still works with us today and has grown his business significantly. And now he's a family friend. He's like a second grandpa to my daughter. But whenever you don't have the ability to lean back and go, I know we can do a good job at this.
Yeah.
Because you've not done it enough times, it's way harder. Way harder.
Yeah, I agree with you because I struggle with that as well. And so one of the things that I would say is, just rank your own website or create a website and rank it and work on it.
Go find a friend or family member that has a business and work on their stuff and
for free.
Build absolutely. It sounds ridiculous. It's slower, but the confidence you build will translate into dollar signs later. 100%.
Yeah. So you were able to seek out mentors and invest in sales training. How, would you look back at that sales training you invested in and was it a waste or was it of value? Like, do you wish there were some things you hadn't bought and some things you did buy?
So training, mentorships, groups, there's definitely ones that were probably not the right fit.
Okay.
And I was sold at the time, this is the final solution. I'm finally going to get what I want out of this.
Okay.
So no, I didn't get what I was after, but I've always, again, that comfort with failure. Yeah. I look at those as stepping stones. Like some of the groups that I've gotten into, now I didn't get the sales training that I wanted, but I've met a tremendous number of people in that group that have now supplied me referrals of business, and like there's been benefit. So I look at what I look at what I got out of it instead of what I didn't, and just keep moving, which I think is the best. Like if you sit and dwell on, this guy suckered me, well, then you're less likely failure. Yeah, you're less likely to go to the next one, and the next one might be the right answer. And I'm also not saying just like frivolously hop from course or mentor to mentor. Like you should be strategic about that and make some good decisions, but I also shouldn't be afraid to give it a whirl. And what's the worst case? What is the worst case?
Yeah,
again, you can get something out of it in some way, I'm sure.
Yeah. There's two things you mentioned about how you said one thing that was just so instrumental in regards to, if you're not good at something, find somebody else who's good at it and learn from them, and then replicate it or even do it twice as much. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but that's an exact sentence from Anthony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within. And that book literally changed my life, reading that book. And I'm going back.
It's a good book.
I'm going back over 30 years. And then there's another book by John Maxwell called Failing Forward that I benefited from, and he just talks about, he uses all these historical references and business references about failing, people who failed and just kept going and failed from one thing to another, to another, to another, to eventually becoming successful. And so the whole principles that you're talking about are tremendously valuable because they're so true. And, they've been stated by authors in these books. And so
I'm curious if it's the same for you, because like the further you, like you said, fail forward, harder it is to even contemplate stopping. It's like,
absolutely.
There's a built-in mechanism, or this is a weird way to describe it, but when I get tired or exhausted, which happens, right? As an agency owner, like there's challenges. I've got challenges going on right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's always new growth and challenges to accept and go after. But I'll get tired and I like reach for that file in my head that's quit.
Yeah.
And it's like file not found. And I'm like, I guess I have to keep going.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like an option anymore. I've gone so far. I've been at it so long. It's like, there's not an option anymore.
Yeah.
So I might as well embrace it and full steam ahead.
I totally hear what you're saying. Absolutely. And to be frank with you, I also think it's a quality of entrepreneurs. Like we just can't quit. You can just knock us down. We just get back up and get going again. Like I've had lots of setbacks. Even COVID did some setbacks in my life, but I just keep going.
For certain.
Just keep, like the Energizer Buddy, just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And, no matter how much you fail or whatever, like, you just keep going. And, so, there's this other saying, again, but John Maxwell says, if you're green, you grow. And if you're ripe, you rot. So he talks about always be learning. Like leaders learn, they're always learning. So it's interesting. I love the fact that we're always investing in yourself and always investing in training. And even Brian Tracy talks about that. He said that your income is equivalent to the amount of that you develop in yourself, your personal development. And this one guy got it to the point where he was always going to invest 10% of his money into personal development. Well, he started to make so much money that he had to hire a personal assistant. And he had to like literally try and find ways to spend the money because he was doing that. And so, it's commendable. I kind of wish that I had maybe invested more in sales training, but like I said, I went a different route and went to learn how to sell cars, which, you do learn how to sell. And it may not be the exact same thing as selling marketing services, but you learn the principles of building rapport and all the other things that go with sales. But out of all that, and this is the question I'm getting to, what would you say if someone were to come to you and say, hey, I know that you have learned how to sell as an introvert. I want to learn how to do the same thing. What is the one course right now that you would tell me to take for sales training?
We do quotas as soon as it becomes available.
Okay. Right on.
He is wicked phenomenal at teaching.
Okay.
He's wicked good at doing it, but I think he's even better at teaching it. He has a way of breaking down the barriers or hangups you have in your head that's preventing you from making the connection. Like I said, it was one statement that unlocked it for me. And he'd work with me, a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks before we arrived at that.
Yeah.
But he would watch me, I'd record some calls. He'd go over them with me. And he's like, I know what your problem is. You're busy focusing on these little technical details and you need to do this. And it just completely unlocked it. But I would definitely say when his comes out, it's called Cell Ops. Whenever it's available, I would definitely.
Well, I wonder if we could get him on the show for just an episode.
Maybe.
If you make that introduction, that'd be great. Yeah. So how did you decide to structure your agency in regards to services? Like, do you only do SEO? Do you specialize at SEO? Do you do other things besides SEO?
So that's the challenge we're facing now. And ironically, back to the investing in training or mentorship, I've recently spent a fair amount of money with a couple of individuals that have agencies that are a couple steps ahead of mine. Okay. And we've made a strategic decision to incorporate web design specifically and some automation alongside of our SEM services. Because the core offerings that we've been doing are search engine optimization, PPC, right? Through Google Ads specifically. We don't do the Facebook, we don't do Bing or any of the others. We do a little bit with YouTube, but not a lot. I would say, what was the question again? I want to make sure I answer this correctly.
Okay, just wait a minute here. Services, in regards to how did you decide and figure out the services, whether just to specialize in one service, SEO, or to expand into and maybe just a couple of services, like you said, SEO and PPC? Has that enabled you to focus your agency more?
I think that's what I was getting at.
Yeah, offering multiple services.
We started really broad in the beginning. I was like, okay, I'll do YouTube videos for you. I'll build you a website, like absolutely everything. Yeah. And then I looked around, and this comes from the learnings of all the other stuff we did, right? I was busy trying to do drop shipping on Amazon and like 15 other things. I think I skipped over a couple steps. I did some day trading for a while. Did really well.
Oh, okay.
But I realized I'm putting all this effort and energy into all these different buckets. I need to be more hyper-focused on something. And so it was actually on the way back from a vacation to Florida in, I think, Navarre. I said, SEO's it. I'm going to die on this hill. We're going to do SEO. And I immediately got off that track and went, okay, so with SEO, we can do paid ads and we can do YouTube and we can do like all the things again. So I spread out too far again and was having a lot of trouble with that, especially since it was just me in the beginning, right? It's not like I had this great big team when I started, just me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I took that understanding that I made more progress when I went, I'm just focusing on the digital marketing. We're not doing any of these other things. And refocused down again and chose SEO specifically because of my background with data and analytics and how well that translates to SEO. Once we did that, that's when we started making progress. That's when we started acquiring customers and making money and getting to the point we could hire people to come in as a team. So we've now reached a point that we've gotten really, really good at that. And we bolted on PPC, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years ago, started doing that as well, just because we were getting so many people asking for it and we were established enough with SEO. So this next progression with adding, the websites and automation and stuff comes from learning from the problems we've had and trying to solve a problem for us as an agency and our customers. Okay. So we've worked with almost any kind of industry you can think of. We've done big e-commerce websites. We've done dog trainers, chiropractors, roofer, like everybody.
And multiple industries.
Our favorite is local. I like playing in the local space, but we've done some big companies in e-commerce too. And I realized that a lot of the problems that we were getting were when we inherited these like really crappy websites. So we do SEO, we get them ranked, but they're not converting well. So we've spent a lot of time and energy into understanding, all right, what converts well, and then realizing, okay, we are taking money out of our pocket to like update these websites so that we can keep our customers because it's not converting well.
Yeah.
How do we solve that? Well, let's introduce building websites, and we will get hyper-focused on how to build them, walk through with those companies what needs to go in there, and kind of push them towards having a pre-existing website that we know and are confident is going to convert well. That way, when we bolt on any one of the SEM services, SEO or PPC, they're going to get a result and they're going to be happy and they're going to stay long-term. So that was the decision there. The other problems are, and I'm sure almost everybody knows this, we all as agency owners complain about it, but I didn't want to just put the responsibility back on the business owners, is sometimes they're not really good at follow-up or picking up the phone or whatever.
Some clients?
Yeah, clients. Like sometimes they can be the worst. They don't answer the phone and then they go, we didn't get any business. I'm like,
you didn't pick up the phone.
Right. So instead of going, all right, well, we're just going to dump that on them, we took a step back and went, okay, how can we start solving those problems? And that's where we're building in the automation components and looking for tools that we can plug in with the website to make them more efficient, to help them through that process. We're even down to the point that this is probably future pacing, maybe as far as a year out, but how do we be more specific about the verticals we work with? And then actually go find partners to develop training for the company that's exterior to the marketing. Like, it's fine that the marketing is happening, but what else can you do as a business owner? Because the ones that have been super, like my very first client, he runs a septic company. They do over $3 million a year. Right? And when they started with me, they were like $600,000 a year. Right?
Oh, wow.
I don't attribute that to my marketing. We got him visibility, but he is a really smart business owner and has really good processes and has built a really good team. Yeah. So my thought is, well, let's go solve that for maybe they just don't know, or they don't know where to find it. So how do we bring someone to them or trainings to them that can help them evolve how they're doing business? That way, whenever they buy our service, they want to stick around because they're seeing the benefit. The ones that leave are the ones that they have no process. They don't answer the phones. They don't know where their leads are coming from. They're all over the place. Those are the ones that are unhappy.
Laughing because that's the way it was when I started as the marketing director at the dealership. Got a multi-million-dollar business and they have no idea what's going on with attribution. It's just crazy. Hey, we're coming to the top of the hour, and I'm looking at my list of questions here. There's so many questions I didn't ask you about, tips on what tips you would give to introverts and this, that, and the other thing. What's one takeaway that you'd like to have our listeners get from this episode? Or if I could ask you, what's one tip that you would share or advice you would give to other introverts who are struggling with sales? That's one question. If I could ask you that question.
They're going to hate it, but it's definitely just putting in the work, get the reps. Everybody says it. It sounds cliche, but do it. That is the only way. Just do it. Be okay with the fact that you're probably going to mess it up. You may even mess it up royal, but you will learn things from it. Yeah. And as you learn those things, you're going to get better at it.
Do you eventually bring on someone who is and fill that organizational role, who is good at sales, handling that stuff?
For sales? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's another one of the things we're working through right now is Kraig's been doing all the selling, and I have other things that I'd like to be focused on for opening these other divisions in our company.
Yeah.
So we're actually talking to Dakota about building a sales team and letting him train them.
Right on. That's awesome. Hey, how can our listeners connect with you online?
Facebook, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
If you send me a message and you're like, hey, would you like to get more business? I probably will not respond to you. But if you open with a candid message, I'd be more than happy to talk to almost anybody.
Yeah. Fantastic. Hey, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Hopefully maybe you can come back again if you like. Totally up to you for a second episode, and we can talk about, we got part 2 about introverts and sales, because there's so many. I'm pretty sure there's some really good answers you have with some of these questions that I developed that I didn't get an opportunity to ask, and would love to have you back if that's okay.
Yeah, anytime. It was a pleasure.
Right on. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.
You too.